So I hop off the golf course after hitting bombs all day. I go to the grocery store, and the Niners sign cornerback Josh Norman in free agency. So that's why we're doing a video breaking it down here on the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Before we explore this signing to see what it means for this Niners defense as well as how much it costs, hit that red subscribe button down below. Help get the Niners Report to 40,000 subscribers. If you want informative, entertaining Niners coverage, we have you covered. And if breaking news happens and we have to do a video from the house, hey, we do that too. So according to Jay Glazer of Fox Sports, 49ers have agreed to terms with veteran free agent cornerback Josh Norman. That's going to bolster their secondary as a depth piece. Mike Garafolo of NFL Network chiming in the reporting as well, saying this: Josh Norman can earn up to $2.5 million on this deal with San Francisco. Source says he had other interest as well across the National Football League, but he gets a deal with a base value above the minimum for a veteran. Speaking of being a veteran, Josh Norman has been in the league for a long time. We'll look at his resume, which has been very, very impressive since he came into the league after getting drafted in the 5th round by the Carolina Panthers out of Coastal Carolina. As for what he's done recently, played with the Buffalo Bills last year, had an interception, started 3 games, played in 9. Certainly not the former All-Pro cornerback that he was back in the day with the Carolina Panthers. Had some successful years after getting the bag with the Washington football team, but Josh Norman, a solid depth piece in this secondary for San Francisco. What does this also mean for some of the players currently on the roster? Probably means that a corresponding move is coming at some point, because Norman signing this deal, I would think, goes on to the 53-man roster, so maybe a player is cut. Maybe there's even an injury in the secondary that we don't know about, or across the roster for that matter. That player maybe goes to IR, paving room for Josh Norman. We'll see what happens on that front. Niner gang, chime in. Let me know. This is a huge name. Josh Norman, well-known, well-regarded across the National Football League. We know that the 49ers secondary also does need some depth. We've talked about that a lot here on the channel, but let me know if you like this signing. Type Y for I do like it. Type N for no. Leave that reasoning in the comment section down below. Speaking of the Niners' depth in the secondary, before Norman hopped on board with San Francisco, the backup cornerbacks behind Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Moseley, the 2 starters on the outside, were Dontae Johnson, Diamador Lenore, and Ambry Thomas. Kyle Shanahan did say this past week that he expected Johnson to be ready week 1 from an abductor injury. Did something happen there? Something could possibly come out on that front over the next couple of hours or days as part of the roster transaction. Josh Norman, let's get back into him. Look at the resume here. 33 years old. Over the span of his career, he's appeared in 120 games. He started a lot of them, 95. So the experience is certainly there. Been in the league for almost a decade. At one time was considered to be one of the best outside shutdown physical cornerbacks, a guy who talked a lot of smack, brought some swagger to the table, 440 combined tackles throughout his career, 15 picks, 83 passes defended in those 95 starts, one-time All-Pro, and was named to the Pro Bowl back in 2015. The accolades certainly there for a guy like Josh Norman, but at this point of his career, 33 years old, soon to turn 34, don't expect Norman to get back to that level. Once again, the main point of emphasis here is this is a veteran who is a very good team leader. He's appeared on NFL Network a lot, so he's done a lot of media stuff. Very intelligent guy who has some character to him, has some swagger, has some color to him. Really entertaining guy. So he kind of adds a little bit to the locker room. As I mentioned earlier, very good with the Carolina Panthers for a number of years. Really burst onto the scene under Ron Rivera, who had a lot of success when he was the head coach in Carolina with developing defensive backs, especially pinpointing some of them in the later rounds. Josh Norman drafted in the 5th round back in 2012 out of the football powerhouse that was Carolina. So a good old-fashioned story of a guy who came into the league, was doubted, late round draft pick, earned his way up throughout the roster, became a starter, became one of the best cornerbacks across the National Football League. And because of that tenure with the Carolina Panthers on that very good defense that also made it to the Super Bowl in 2015 when Cam Newton had that MVP season, they lost to the Denver Broncos. Norman was a part of that secondary alongside guys like Luke Kuechly. So that was an awesome defense, and a big reason for that was Josh Norman being able to play lockdown coverage, man on man, some zone on the outside as a cornerback. From Carolina, goes to the Washington football team, signs a 5-year, $75 million contract, and then was there up until 2019, and then in 2020, Norman hopped on board and signed with the Buffalo Bills. So I like this for a couple of reasons, and obviously we're bringing you this video as soon as it happens. Got off the golf course, had to rush home from the grocery store, so wasn't able to do full-blown research into this. But now that I'm thinking about it, Norman gets drafted in the 5th round out of Coastal Carolina, plays for a very good defensive head coach in Ron Rivera, so he gets to be around that great defensive mind. Then he goes to Buffalo with Sean McDermott, who I think is one of the best coaches across the entire league. What he's done at Buffalo from a cultural standpoint of building this franchise up from some down years where it got really ugly during the Rex Ryan days. He had to clean up a lot of that mess. McDermott not only fortifies a culture, and he was also with Josh Norman and Ron Rivera in Carolina as the defensive coordinator for that team that made it to the Super Bowl. That's a big reason why he got that Buffalo Bills gig. But McDermott's such a great defensive mind too. So Norman has not only been a very productive player, right? But he's been tutored, he's been coached by some awesome defensive minds in Ron Rivera, Sean McDermott. Now he goes to San Francisco with the first-year defensive coordinator in DeMeco Ryans, who was an excellent player for a long time as a linebacker with the Texans and the Philadelphia Eagles. Some people are already talking about him as potentially being a head coaching candidate as early as 2022, but the Norman experience can only be an addition from a cultural defensive-minded standpoint with DeMeco Ryans, who is a first-year defensive coordinator. So all in all, I like the move as a depth piece. I'm not sure what the corresponding move is going to be as part of the 53-man roster. You don't want Josh Norman being your starting outside cornerback for all 17 games of the season. If an injury does go down to Jason Verrett, that doesn't spell good news for this Niners team as a whole, or especially this Niners defense. But right now, I like the makeup of the starting defensive backfield with Jason Verrett, Emmanuel Moseley, K'Wan Williams, Jaquiski Tartt, as well as Jimmie Ward. You have some of the young players also in Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas, Talanoa Hufanga, and now you have a veteran player who was once a stellar player who is now an experienced, older, but still capable player in Josh Norman. And this defensive backfield has become now deeper with this signing. One more note before I get out of here, probably spells the end of any hope of Richard Sherman re-signing with San Francisco. Who knows what happens with the legal issues, but I would imagine, I'm pretty firm in probably knowing that Josh Norman signing with the Niners probably spells the end of any hopes of Richard Sherman coming back, unless there's another injury that does happen. Before I dip on out of here and enjoy my Sunday night, I got to unpack the groceries. Grade the 49ers secondary for me now with the addition of Josh Norman, A, B, C, D, or F. Get those votes in the comment section. And once again, this is why you subscribe to the 49ers Report, because even if I have to rush home from golf, grocery store, to bring you a video from the crib, we do so here, and the faithful family at large here at Chat Sports on the 49ers Report with almost 40,000 subscribers. Thanks for watching. Enjoy your night, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.